to say, I just love books. Everything about them. From seeing them in stores and buying them, to pulling them from bookshelves and brushing over the covers, to feeling the pages and reading them. Hell, even writing books. You probably feel the same, which is why you clicked on this video in the first place. Before we go any deeper, let me tell you guys exactly what you're in for. This channel is a space for me to talk about the books I'm reading. That means we'll be talking a lot. If that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But if you're someone who has time to grab some coffee and have a conversation with friends about what you're reading, I think we'll be great friends. Or maybe your friends haven't touched a book since high school and they're not really the book club type. Well, now you can hang out here. I'm lucky in that sense. Here's why. In 2021, my 3 high school besties and I decided to form a book club. Even though we liked books, we kind of found it hard to pick one up when life got in the way. And then there was our personal tastes, which tunneled us into a small space. The book club was the perfect place to challenge our comfort zones and to at least get 12 books in a year. And I'm proud to say we've been going strong ever since. How does it work? Well, the 4 of us take turns buying a book of our choice and gifting it to the club on a monthly basis. That means each person is responsible for supplying 3 books a year. And there's no prior discussion about it, so every month is a surprise. The genres can range from romance and fairy tale to historical and self-development. We usually arrange an adventure/hangout day once a month where we combine some fun activity and lunch with our book club meeting. After discussing the previous month's book, we reveal the new month's book, and it's a great system. Personally, I find that I'm more willing to experiment with the kinds of books I read when I'm picking them for the book club. And there's something about reading in a deadline that excites me. I think 1 book a month is quite flexible too. When I'm feeling lazy, it's super doable, and when I'm ravenously reading, it allows me to balance other books I'm reading too. We actually came up with this system because in 2020, over the whole year, we only met twice. And we needed a way to stay in touch more frequently as our lives got more and more busy. Every time one of us mentions the book club to someone, they instantly love the idea, and that we have the motivation to maintain it. In that regard, I admit I'm lucky to have the friends I do, and I love them for it. There's also quite a few people who want to join, which is awesome. But I find that 4 people is the perfect size. Any bigger and it's hard to organize, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it. I was sitting around the other day and had a thought. Why not talk about the books I'm reading and give other people a chance to tune into a virtual book club? It's perfect if you don't have a lot of time or have too much time on your hands. So I want to officially welcome you guys to Book Club and Chill, the place to hang out when you want to read and talk about books. You can call me MS. AL, NG, and TR may be introduced in time, but for now you'll have to do with me. How about we take a short break and grab that coffee we were talking about? I'll put on some music for us to listen to while we do that. When we come back, we can chat about one of the recent books my besties and I have read in the book club. Its name, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, by Yoru Sumino. Okay, I know this is a manga. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Some people might not consider it as book club material, but come on, it has words, pages, and a story. This is actually the first manga we've read in the book club, and hopefully there will be more. It's been around for a while, so a lot of people know about it, and based on the number of times it's been reproduced, I think it's safe to assume people love it. AL's younger brother knew about this manga, and he never reads. At least I don't think so. He even wondered why that was the first manga we chose. It was an NG choice, and to be honest, it was pretty on brand for her. I'm sure with time, everyone will learn our tastes. Our copies were purchased from Kinokuniya in Sydney at $37.90 per book. I'm not sure what price range mangas usually go at, but for a book, that's pricey. However, we did get the complete collection, so that might have something to do with it. So, there is the manga, an animated film, and a live-action film for the story. My besties and I definitely want to watch the films, but until then, we have the book. When I first saw the book, I was blown away by how pretty it looked. I'm assuming the artist listed on the front made it, Idumi Kirihara. I kind of want to put it in a glass case and display it somewhere in the house. That's how nice it looks. The back says it's a bittersweet romance, and we get told off the bat that the female lead, Yamauchi Sakura, is dying. This made me hella curious about how the book was going to keep our interest when the typical twist was laid out front. I also incorrectly assumed that there was no more twistiness to be had, which is probably why I found the sudden turn even more twisty at the end. Now is probably a good time to mention that I will be talking with spoilers, so unless you've read the book or don't mind, I suggest you refrain from listening any further. When my classmate Yamauchi Sakura died, there was a wake and a funeral. That's the first line of the book. The female lead isn't just dying, she's dead. This seems like a good time for us to take a snack break. When we come back, we'll talk about the boy who opens the manga so darkly. I want to eat your pancreas. It's not something we'd normally hear, especially not in high school. But our male protagonist does. He's an introverted boy who spends a lot of time convincing himself he's not lonely. Then he gets singled out by Sakura after finding out her secret, and the two start spending a whole lot of time together. I definitely prefer our introvert to the overly bubbly main girl, but I think they balance each other out quite nicely. For me, that is in huge part to the introvert's wittiness and deadpan responses. It makes him so funny. Sakura seems to operate between modes of explosive happiness and pity partying. I mean, I like washi tape, but not when people are being wishy-washy, you know? Obviously, as they hang out more, the other classmates start noticing, and not everyone is okay with it. Sakura is the type of girl everyone wants to be friends with, so when she's suddenly very close to the introvert, I'm sure people are confused and a little jealous. They don't know who this random guy that used to stay in the shadows is, and in a lot of ways, neither do we, because one of the most important parts of a person is kept secret from us until the very end: his name. We'll come back to that later, but it makes for a nice metaphorical tie-in when we do find out. Our introvert gets dragged to all sorts of places by Sakura, because she has things she wants to do before dying, and she wants to do them with someone who she doesn't have to hide her impending death from. Over time, the introvert starts looking forward to these outings, and comes to realize that being around people isn't that terrifying. A part of him always wanted that acceptance, but didn't know how. This entire time, Sakura is writing a diary about her experiences. She wants to pass it on to the introvert when she's gone. Suddenly, her health deteriorates and she ends up in the hospital. Now there's even less time for her to live, but she still wants to go on another trip with the introvert. They make plans and she never shows up. The introvert finds out while watching the news that she was stabbed on the street. She dies. How twisty is that? I assumed that because there was already the illness, she wouldn't die any other way. And for her to go suddenly without any warning put me in for a spin. The introvert doesn't go to her funeral, or the wake that was mentioned at the very beginning of the manga. Instead, he visits her house when it's all done. There, Sakura's mother gives him the diary she wrote, and he breaks down crying. I admit, this is when I shed my tears. In it, Sakura wants him to patch up with her best friend, who has had it out for the introvert since the very beginning. As the introvert leaves Sakura's home, her mother asks for his name. It's Haruki, with the kanji for springtime. I think we all need something sweet because the tears are getting salty. So let's have a dessert break. When we come back, we'll talk about why the introvert's name gets us in the fields. Haruki has the same name as a novelist. He tells Sakura during a train ride on one of their trips. We never find out till the end what it actually is, and it doesn't disappoint. Here's why. Sakura, or cherry blossoms, wait a long time to bloom for a very short time in the right season. Spring. Yamauchi Sakura dies at 17, but her friendship with Haruki and the time they spent together is meaningful. It's poetic when you think about it this way. Sakura waited her whole life to meet Haruki so she could bloom for a few months before death. I love this. The importance of names and meanings is not something I see a lot in Western literature, but I can say that it's a huge thing in the East. My parents deliberated a lot before choosing a name for my older brother and I. His name means pride and honor. My name means majesty and glory. I also watch a lot of Asian dramas. I'm a huge fan. And something I've noticed is the awareness people have around what their names mean, and at times the connection of that to the story or one's personality. Parents in the East usually name their children with an intention. What's the meditative word for it? Manifesting. Names are given with the intention of manifesting certain qualities or embodying aspirations parents may have for their kids. How many of you guys know the meaning of your names? Why do you think your parents chose it? Sometimes I think it's good to adjust the way we look at our lives based on this. If our names influenced our personal stories, what would the story of our life be? It's an interesting thing to think about. Haruki and Sakura's story is bittersweet. Would I pick this manga up on my own? No. I personally wouldn't commit to a story that has a sad ending. I have discovered that I have subconscious guidelines for happy endings that have to be met for me to be satisfied. They include the protagonist or my favorite character having the promise of a partner and family. Thankfully for Haruki, even after Sakura's passing, he's on the right track. A year later, he manages to befriend Kyoko, Sakura's best friend, and the gum boy from class. They even go to visit Sakura's grave together. So, who is your favorite character in the whole manga? Mine is definitely Gumboy. I realize I haven't spoken a word about him this whole time. He's a supporting character who pops up a couple of times throughout the entire manga and almost always offers Haruki gum when he does. I also realize there's probably a ton of other stuff to talk about, but I'll leave it to you guys in the comments. It was nice hanging out with you all, and I'll see you guys next time on Book Club and Chill.